Alright, howdy folks. Welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. This is just going to be a fun case study for a book that's surprisingly rare. So as many of you know, I'm a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had a very long-running adventures series published by Archie Comics. That series ended at issue 72, which is a fairly rare Ninja Turtle comic book. And alongside that, they had these specials and annuals. And the final couple issues of these seasons and annuals are quite rare. And I still don't have the final issue, but this is the second to last issue here, Giant Size Special number 10. It went to 11. This one I picked up in a very trashed condition, as you can see here, with a really nasty spine roll. It's got back cover staining, and it's clearly a spine roll. So you can see it has the teardrop shape there on the top of the wraps. You clearly can see the back pages exposed on the back there. And if you look across, you know, it's not even straightened up. And so this thing has a lot of TLC it needs to get into shape. Now, some of you might say, why would I spend my time on a comic book, a low grade kids book like this one that's already beaten up? Well, these things are pretty hard to find, and so this one might end up actually being my PC version for quite some time. Now, the top staple is blown all the way through, and you can see that just by, you know, kind of inspecting it. You can see that the staple's completely teared out. So I'm actually going to see if I can put a little piece of tape under there to help stabilize that. And this staple also has big tears that go in from the edge, and so I'm hoping that I can flip that over and at least improve it. And so before we get going too crazy, the first thing I'm going to do is open it on up and iron it out. Usually you'd want to start with a dry cleaning first, but this thing has more stains, and I'm worried about making it worse if I actually attempt to do the dry cleaning. Now, also on very serious spine rolls such as this, if you flip it open to the centerfold, it's pretty common to have blown centerfolds, although in this case it looks intact on the top and the bottom. So we're just going to start here. I've got SRP paper under the bottom just to make sure I'm not, you know, scraping it on the board. I have my parchment paper right here that we're going to wet, and we're just going to iron this thing out multiple times here. I've already sprayed down my cotton round, and I have my hanger 9 iron all heated up. So let's just go ahead and get going. And after we fix that, then what I'll do is come back and look at the taping that top staple just to help it, you know, generate a little bit of eye appeal. But for starters, I'm just going to saturate this strip, and then, you know, just try to flatten it out. And the newsprint on the inside is not sealed, and so it takes up water a lot better than the cover. And you can also heat it. So right now on my iron, I've got this thing set at about 2.5. I usually don't ever go above 2 on the cover because the inks will start to melt at the temperature, and you can do a lot of damage. But on these interior wraps, they're much, much more forgiving. And so I always start here just flattening it out from the inside. And with the amount of water that this iron is trying to steam through the pages, it's going to be a hot minute, but this thing's quite stained. A bunch of people have asked me where you come up with these hanger 9s because they are out of production. They haven't been produced since around COVID. I keep a safe search look on eBay, or at least that's what I would recommend. Last time I picked one up, it was about 60 bucks. Up from, I think, the first one I bought at retail when they were still in production was only maybe 30. So you're going to unfortunately have to pay a pretty penny on the secondary market, but they're really nice compared to some of the other ones that are available. And they have really, really good use time. So, you know, hopefully you only need to buy once. Now there is some creasing up here. Usually for creasing like this, you can just gently dab the wraps, and then we'll just hit it with the iron on the inside and see if we can get some of that creasing to forget where it came from. Yep. That curling you see is from the paper's contracting when it gets hit with the hot iron. It's also pretty normal. And again, as you get above that 2 on the dial, you're going to start to boil the water much more readily. So that's all the steam we're making. We're just pushing all that steam right through the comic book. still unfortunately feels like there's a ridge here, so if I just run my finger across it left to right, I can see that there's clearly kind of a bump. That's from where it was curled under for the spine roll, and so unfortunately that means we got to keep on going. I'm going to try to focus on the left side of the centerfold crease. Let's hope that that's good enough and flip her on over. Now what I'm going to do is try to take my little tool here. I have a damp Q-tip. What I'm going to do is hit this with that damp Q-tip, and then we'll see if we can fold it on over. I'm hoping it folds down and we can give it a quick clean. I've got my little scientific use spatula here. Just want to fold that down over. No, it's from the inside of the tear. Unfortunately, I think that's the piece that actually goes underneath the cover. All right. I've said this before and tried to explain it. You know, paper doesn't tear directly this way. Usually it splices at some angle, and figuring out which half has the color on it is always the tough part. So in this case, it looks like you partly want us to pull the tear under. There we go. Found it. So all we had to do was sitting this way, and all I had to do is adjust it so it goes this way, so we get that little bit of color back on the front cover. That's all I wanted there. And so if that's still damp from the Q-tip, yeah, it was the damp side, so that's good. What I'll do is just give that a little bit of a hit from the iron. I'm going to turn it down, and then I'm just going to dab my cotton around to lower the temperature a bit. Now hopefully it'll be good to keep that right where it's at. Now up here on the top, it's going to be a little bit more delicate because I don't know how that piece is hanging out. Looks like it's fully kind of torn off, but it's still attached to the back if I look. And so what I want to do is pull the tongue back under the staple, maybe? Maybe we can actually reattach the staple. I think that might be possible. Grab a backer board here. What I'm going to try to do is push the because I have all of this paper. I wonder if I can do this without tape, just by pushing it back under the staple. That might be okay. The staple's very tight though, which I do not like. Sometimes you can just get it to slide under there. Don't want to wet it first because that'll make it tear. Let's see if I can actually pry up the... Yeah, I have to take a detour here. I'm actually just going to undo the staple. It's really tightly in there. There we go. That's enough for me to get my finger under it. Should be able to push the staple out just a smidge. I don't actually want to push it all the way out of the comic. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a ridge there to slide this under. And what I'm going to do is pull that in using my tweezers if I can find them. There we go. Under the cover. Pull a little bit more. Don't want to pull it too hard or I'll rip it out, which would obviously be very, very bad. There we go. Slide that right back into where it should be. You're not even going to need the tape. Open it back up to here. I'm going to pull these in as tight as I can get them. It's nice and tight. I'm just going to push them right back down. Usually I use my little itty bitty screwdriver to give a little bit of space under that staple, but these particular ones did not actually have that. I'm not going to be able to push them all the way tight, but what I'm going to do here is use the end of my tweezer to push them down as tight as I can go. Unfortunately, they also overlap quite a bit, so. See how that looks. There we go, check that out. Now it's time to just fold this beast back up. Iron it out. So with this, what I do is I should have a backer board which is cut here, which we're going to slide in the middle. It's going to help us support the spine. And then what I'm going to do here is grab some chip clips that I have. And these were bought specifically because they have these nice broad rubber ends. You can see that they don't have any teeth. And we're going to use that to hold the open end as we reset this. And you're still going to need to roll a bunch of that. It's my alarm going off, telling me it's time to change my light box. Have to push the ramps and pull the cover tight. See how that looks right there. And then we will do the same down here and hope we can pull that cover just a little bit. Don't make it. It's harder than it looks sometimes to line up all the wraps, particularly when the staples are this wiggly. And obviously we don't want to put any stress on the spine, so what I'm trying to do is line it up as much as I can from the top down. And pull the cover over just a little bit on the front. And we'll use the backer board at the center fold to try to help us make a crease here. Still got my iron on. Basically do the same thing. Now normally I would do this much more diligently because there is a risk that you can iron little wrinkles from the parchment paper into the cover as you slide this down the spine, but in this particular case the book's so jacked I'm not going to worry about it. try to give it a good hard fold. To the top, give it a nice hard fold. Bottom. Try to avoid the staples where possible. Flip and repeat. Just imagine, I actually love a book like this because you can just imagine two kids like my brother and me arguing about who's going to get to read it next and throwing it across the room at each other because mom told you to hand it to your sibling and you weren't done with it and you just decided to wreck it instead of handing it off fairly. Not that I would ever do anything like that when I was a kid, but if I did, you know, maybe I should apologize to my brother for it. But, you know, it's okay. He did all kinds of mean stuff to me too. That's what siblings are for. Now that we're all grown up, we can look back and laugh at it and be happy for what we had. Good times. Can't complain much. I think it's unfortunate a lot of people discount low-end books for all the joy that they brought people. Do one more here. Alright, I think that's going to be it for the ironing. See how close of a job we did. You know, it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better. Definitely happy we got that top staple set. I had my taping tricks already. I didn't even need them, so that looks pretty good. You know, it's much more well lined up. Okay, so this thing we're going to press at 155, how normal. I'm going to give it a 15-minute press, but I'm going to extend that a little bit and actually probably do a 20-minute press. The other thing I'm going to do is give it a solid 4-minute humidification in my humidity tank with it open loosely at the centerfold to make sure that the inner wraps are absorbing some humidity to try to make sure that they reset. And then I'm only going to do the open at the cover for about 2 minutes. So I want most of the humidity actually on the inner wraps. And, you know, as a comic presser, we deal with humidity going in and then we take it right back out. And so it's all kinetically mediated. And what that means is if you put too much in, you have to give it extra time to come on back out because you want it to go to a low humidity state at the end. But we're going to dial this one on up into the press and see what it comes out looking like in a little bit. So keep your fingers crossed for me. All right, folks, one final look here at this copy of Ninja Turtles Adventure Special. So you can see here the top corner looks pretty lined up. The bottom corner looks pretty lined up. And most importantly, if we flip it back on over, there's still what you might consider a little bit of a roll, but that's mostly due to manufacturing and the cover. If you look really closely at the open edge here, you can see that there still is wrap there exposed. And so if we pulled any more along the back, you'd end up with some of that open edge being more exposed on the front cover. So that's about all it's going to get. And you can also see here that the staples are now much closer to the edge from where they should be. We also fixed that little bit of a tear over there, and this looks much better. And so that's about all we're going to do for that one, is just get it on in there. This one's not going to go to CGC because it is incredibly low grade, and really the value of this one is having it for the PC to complete the run of these Turtles Adventure Specials. So that's going to be it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the process of taking one of these, you know, much more beaten up, kind of, you know, well-loved reader copies and getting it into a form that's not, you know, heinous from arm's length. And that's really all we were going for. It even fits in the bag now, so check that out. All right, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button down below. I'll post pictures of what this thing actually looked like on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to check that out.